Okay, well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Monday, April 4th, 2016 City Council meeting. At this time, I will call the meeting to order, and we'd ask for Pastor Lamar Whitmore from the Harvest Baptist Church to lead us in prayer. Well, he's not here, so Megan, you're by the speaker, so go ahead.
This is a lot of pressure, okay? We'll bow our heads. Lord, we thank you for the democracy we live in. We thank you for bringing us together, and we ask you to watch over our community, help us make mindful decisions, and go on in your name. Amen.
Very good. To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Wow, Megan, that was great. Thank you. Nothing like putting you on the spot,
Kidding.
huh? That always just plan on it next year.
Okay. All
Okay.
right.
So, Shelley, if you'll do roll call for us.
I can. Albertson is absent. Bueller?
Here.
Danforth?
Here.
Manti?
Here.
Riefenberger?
Here.
Roby?
Here.
Solom?
Here.
Thorson?
Here.
Tupper?
Here.
Vilhauer?
Here.
Thank you.
Thanks, Shelley. Okay, at this time, I'll look for a motion second for approval of the consent agenda. Motion by Bruce, second by Randy, or Glenn? Glenn. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Number 2, approval of the agenda. I'll look for a motion and a second. Motion by Beth, second by Mike. Any questions? Hearing none, I'll look for council action. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Number 3, and that brings Megan up to the plate again. This is a presentation of the 2015 Annual Report of Finances and Activities for the Chamber of Commerce.
Well, now that the hard part is over, I would be glad to give my report. All right. I like this magic wand that you have here. So first of all, thank you so much for working with my schedule. I was out of town 2 weeks ago with a family emergency, and so I appreciate your willingness to let me come this evening. It's always an exciting day when we get to talk about what's happening at the Chamber of Commerce. There's never a dull moment, and that's good job security, but that's also a good sign of a progressive community, and exciting things are happening. So I want to just go over, I'll give you a very brief overview and then open it up to questions of the ongoing partnership between the city and the Chamber of Commerce as far as marketing goes. Little history, we have a longstanding tradition of helping the Chamber of Commerce helping the city with their marketing. No city dollars are used in staffing or operations of the organization. We're a little bit different animal than a lot of the other organizations that maybe came in front of you. The dollars that you entrust in us annually are actually vouchered back to the city to provide that accountability. So the dollars you give us, every dollar we can turn around and give you a newspaper ad, a radio spot, something that was purchased in that. It doesn't go for payroll, it doesn't go to keep our lights on, it doesn't pay our water bill. What we call our target trade area, where we do our major marketing for the city of Watertown, is within that 100-mile radius, taking very good care and being mindful of our neighbors in western Minnesota. We see a lot of retail traffic, a lot of folks that come in that way. North up to the Sisseton area, we see folks that come all the way west from Doland, and down, believe it or not, as far as just a bit south of Brookings. So our job is to persuade those folks within that 100-mile radius, choose Watertown instead of Brookings, instead of some alternative. That's where we want you to spend the money. So that's where you'll see those dollars being used. 2015, the city allocated $76,000 in citywide marketing, and then an additional $10,000 to Cook on Kempesca. Some of the Shop Local campaign initiatives, just an overview, not limited to, we do a big Small Business Saturday push. Santa's Great Giveaway, which is the wording for our holiday shopping, our back-to-school promotions, and our Watertown Bucks promo program. Now, with the Watertown Bucks, you're probably very familiar with those. Those are dollars that people come in. It's essentially a gift certificate for the city of Watertown. It can be redeemed at any chamber business. Last year, we were just under putting out $500,000 to the community. The chamber makes no money off of that. It's cash in, cash out. We actually incur expenses by the time we print them, pay banking service fees, all of those things, staff time that come along with that. So we use those dollars as a way to try to keep those monies tied into the community. Dollars used to promote community events. The 4th of July, that's a promo that we do in conjunction with the Fraternal Order of Police. Cook-and-Compasca and St. Patrick's Day are some of the major ones you're going to recognize. Then we also do some community and public relations service type items, community relocation guides, people calling to Watertown saying, hey, I'm interested, what can I do? Can you send me out some information about moving? What do you have available for housing listings, those types of things. Ag appreciation, this is above and beyond farm show. That's completely a separate animal, but we really like to make sure that our neighbors in agriculture realize how much the City of Watertown, the Chamber of Commerce, local businesses appreciate them spending their dollars in Watertown. Watertown Day at the Legislature, I-29 billboards, and some of the gateway signage to the community. Last year there was a really small increment that was spent on some Christmas decoration and repair, and then we ended up actually replacing, so that ended up being a good deal. And then the static airport plane display, which is sort of interesting, but the Chamber of Commerce is the one that purchases the flags and makes sure that that area is maintained out there where that plane sits at the entrance of the airport. Just a quick, you've seen some of these ads. These are some of our popular ones that we do. This one actually goes on a hotel wrap or a special event wrap in the public opinion, just kind of a sampling. I wanted to get just a little bit more in depth on Cook-and-Compasca. Without the city council, we don't feel like we could have gained the ground we've gained in the last few years. This will be our 4th year of offering this KCBS contest to the community. We've already begun to gain the reputation. The contestants call us the luxury contest of the North. People love Cook-and-Compasca. They love to come to Watertown, South Dakota, because everywhere else they go in the country, they get packed into asphalt in a parking lot in a downtown somewhere or in a metropolitan area. We give them a campsite at City Park, and they love the new bathhouse. That was one of the big things we heard, so that's exciting. We had a conversation. The mayor has been out there numerous years visiting with folks one-on-one and stepped up that prize purse to $10,000. We drew in last year 38 teams, and we're expecting to probably, if space allows and we can get some of those folks to be self-sufficient, we're hoping to hit 50. Estimated attendance last year was 3,500. If you remember, we fought a tornado, high winds, flash flooding, you name it, Armageddon, but we still pulled off some good numbers. We're drawing in teams from California, Texas, Canada, all over the Midwest. And then in the next couple days, you will be hearing about some major growth for 2016. There's a possibility that we may be having to look for more space, maybe enter into some conversations with the folks over at Casino Speedway, because we're looking at a major growth factor for Cook-and-Compasca. We're going to firm up the details tomorrow and then announce that. So we are thrilled with what is coming down the pipe for that event this summer. Very brief overview. I know I'm not the big show tonight, so I told the mayor I would keep it very brief. If there are any questions, I'm glad to field those at this time.
Megan, just say a word about your staff. I mean, how many people do you have?
Right now, we staff Twyla, and you are all very familiar with Twyla. She's the guru. Twyla Schmidt works in our PR and communications. Dixie Obank. Dixie is an absolute superstar. She didn't know she had a sales ability. She came in. She's been there. She'll almost be there in a year. This gal is signing up anywhere from 6 to 12 new members a month. We've hit this new plateau, or not even a plateau, that's not the right word, in the last 6 months since we've had Dixie on. For the first time in the 12 years I've been there, new businesses coming to town are coming to us faster than we can get out to them. And we feel like our response time's quick. We hear about them, we're out within a day or two meeting them. People are signing up online left and right. So membership is at an all-time high. I attribute that to her. Ashley Johnson is our office coordinator. Amazing multitasker, and then we have Caitlin Vokes, and Caitlin is one of those people that nothing gets by her. She's so detail-oriented, and so I'm so proud of the team that we have at the Chamber, and really would put them up against anybody in the country.
Just my comment is just kudos to you and your staff. What you do with a very small staff, what goes on through your doors is phenomenal.
Well, we love it. We love the life we live, and it's actually just an honor and a pleasure to be able to serve the businesses in the community, so.
And you proved you can be put on the spot.
Well, you know what? In my 12 years, that's the first time I've had to do that. So I'll add that to my resume now. That was interesting.
Thanks, Megan. Any
Absolutely.
other questions for her? Perfect. Thank you, Megan.
Thank you so much. Ray, if I just pull this out of here, am I safe? Okay. Okay.
Okay, number 4, presentation of petitions to repeal Resolution 1610 and set date for public vote. I have a statement I'd like to read on this. Starts as, the Finance Office, who serves as the election official for the City of Watertown, was presented with a municipal referendum petition in the City of Watertown requesting that Resolution 1610 vacating public right-of-way on South Broadway Street be submitted to the voters of the City of Watertown. The petition contained 1,004 signatures, and 301 signatures were initially disqualified. We have now received additional information challenging the validity of the petition. The petition has been rejected based upon factual information provided by the affidavit of the James Sauer and a police report on the ongoing investigation by the City of Watertown Police Department. There were signers of the petition that did not sign in the presence of the person circulating the petition. This was confirmed through statements made by actual signers of the petition to law enforcement officials. The requirement that people sign in the presence of the person circulating the petition is pursuant to South Dakota law, and the requirement is in place to protect the integrity of the election process. Violation of this requirement by the circulator of the petition is a misdemeanor and can result in criminal penalties. The city has been notified of an ongoing investigation by the police department and has no other information at this time. Because the signatures were not gathered in accordance with South Dakota law, the city has a duty to reject the referendum petition and preserve the integrity of the election process for the citizens of Watertown. Pursuant to South Dakota statute, the sponsor of the referendum petition will be notified. Mr. Sauer, did you have something you wanted to give us?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jim Sauer. I'm CEO of Glacial Lakes Energy, and I represent the company here tonight. After the passage of the resolution to close Broadway, we fully expected that Mr. Davis and Mr. Daigle would exercise their rights under the law to petition this, to circulate a petition. And that is appropriate, as long as certain regulation, rules, and laws are followed. Once that petition was submitted, I believe it was about a week ago, we fully intended to challenge and take a look at that petition. Really 3 factors that led to our thorough review. One is the 30% rejection rate that you read. 2 was some of the street talk that we were hearing about circulators and who was circulating petitions. And 3, some of the unsolicited feedback we'd received from members of the public, actual phone calls about this process. So with that, we went forward and we've since in the last 5 days we've conducted a very thorough review and have filed the affidavit with the city as of 3:30 today, challenging. And I think essentially the main challenge is these circulators and the validity of the circulators, not only who circulated the petition, but who signed that they circulated the petition. So with that, I'll turn it over, if I may, to our legal representative, and you might have a thing to say,
Sure.
to add.
That's fine if you want to do that. Then I would also like to comment that we're all we all have a copy of now the affidavit that you submitted. And I believe, Lisa, correct me if I'm wrong, after the meeting that any other legal or anybody that wants a copy of that can get a copy, or what are you suggesting?
Yes, Your Honor, sorry,
That's
Mr.
okay.
Mayor.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Have
get
it.
some of those lots, those white ones there.
But yes, after the meeting's over, it will become a part of the official record and will be public access.
Okay. So go ahead, Jim.
Okay. Mr. Hopper?
Mayor and members of the council, my name is Monty Hopper. I'm a lawyer here in Watertown, and our firm assisted in the preparation of the affidavit that you have before you and the challenge to the petition process. There are a number of objections to various signatures on the petitions, And I would say that the City Finance Office did an exceptional job in identifying the basis for the city's rejection of a number of those signatures. The affidavit that we prepared for Jim's signature also carries other bases for objection. And one of the big ones relates to the verification of the circulators. And if I might, just without taking too much time here, the verification requires, and these are statutory requirements or requirements of regulations established by the South Dakota Secretary of State, but the circulator must say under oath that they circulated the referendum petition, that each signer personally signed that petition in their presence, and then they attest that to the legality of the signatures and that each person signed this petition as a resident and qualified voter of the municipality. The statute, SDCL 2-1-10 states that, and these are mandatory requirements, and it goes to the validity and the integrity of the process, and as I'll mention in a moment, the South Dakota Supreme Court has weighed in on the requirement that these be followed. But the statute says that the verification shall prescribe that the circulator made reasonable inquiry, and to the best of the circulator's knowledge, each person signing the petition is a qualified voter of the state in the county indicated on the signature line, and that no state statute regarding the circulation of petitions was knowingly violated. So the South Dakota Secretary of State has promulgated regulations that relate to the requirement that the circulator's signature be verified. In other words, the verification is the affirmance by that circulator that in fact they followed the law. And the circulator's verification, if it's improperly completed, results in the fact that no signature on that entire petition page can be counted. And then the South Dakota Supreme Court has said in a couple of different cases that the requirements for circulation and verification of the referendum petitions, whether statutory or administratively adopted, are substantial in character and not merely requirements of form. So the rules need to be followed. And in that same case, the court went on to say that the legislature has worked on identifying these verification requirements and the need to eliminate petitions circulated by ghost circulators, as was in the case of NIST versus Herseth, which was a 1978 case. All of this goes to establish the fact that each of these statutory or regulatory requirements are critical to the integrity of the process. And in this particular case, there were petitions that were not properly followed. They weren't properly verified by the circulators. And as a result, the regulations require that they be set aside. And that's necessary, in our view, just to maintain the integrity of this particular process.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hopper. And at this time, I think, Mr. Toomey, if you would come up and address the council.
Good evening, Mayor, Council.
Tell us a little bit about what happened.
Sure. We were notified of a possible criminal allegation, so we began our investigation on Saturday. It is an ongoing investigation. I'm not going to release any information about names or anything like that since it is an ongoing investigation, but we are taking a close look at any violation of SDCL law.
Okay, that's really what we're looking for. And as you said, it is an ongoing investigation, and it will go on for some time, I would imagine.
Yes, sir. Once the investigation is complete, it will be referred to the state's attorney's office.
Okay, thank you very much. So based on that, based on this information, I would ask for a motion and a second to direct the city election office to reject this petition.
So moved.
Motion by Mike, second by Beth. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Number 5, proposed lease agreement with Airco for city-owned land located at the airport. At this time, I will open the public hearing. If there's anybody who wants to speak in favor of or against this, is your opportunity. Hearing none, I will close this public hearing. Todd, is there anything you want to tell us about this particular lease?
Good evening. This is the Airco 2 lease, or the Airco 2 purchase that you guys had voted on a while back. This is the ground lease that'll take effect as soon as we get that purchase done.
Just by chance, can you put that up on the screen, hit those?
I have
support
it on mine.
documents? Somebody? Okay, so what I'll do is I'm going to look for a motion and a second for discussion purposes.
Oh, it's on.
Motion by Mike, second by Bruce. Any questions that you guys have for Todd on this? If he,
I do, Todd. Section 2 under term, you've got it up there in the lease. There's something I didn't understand when I reviewed this. Specifically, the last sentence, "The lessee must provide notice to lessor of his intent to vacate the premises and terminate this lease." You just moved it up. Move it back down, please. Thank you. Terminate this lease not more than 60 days prior to the expiration of any 5-year term. So they could actually give us notice 1 day before the end of the term. Am I reading that correctly? I think that's disadvantageous to the city. I think that ought to maybe be a 60-day notice, so we have time to react to that.
I'll refer to legal for that.
Not less than.
Again, last
Oops.
sentence, lessee must provide notice to lessor of his intent to vacate the premises and terminate this lease not more than 60 days. So they could do 1 day, we get notice, and we don't have a customer. So I think we ought to.
You would be correct. I gave some deference to previous leases in order to remain consistent, but I would agree with you that I did not catch that in reviewing previous leases that were entered. These are basically templates, and I was trying to remain consistent.
I
But
could
you
live
are
with
correct.
Not less than, only that gives us a chance to react. So if we're going to
Right.
lose our tenant, we have 60 days to find somebody before the lease is over.
And they would also have to remove the building
Yeah,
because they own it.
correct.
So
Yeah, if you want to toss that in for a change, I can make that
so
change.
I think what I'll do is, we had that motion and a second on that. Should we amend the motion so that it includes this lease not less than 60 days? I forget who made that motion. Was it you, Mike? I think I did. You want to amend your motion on that? So Mike will amend his motion for not less than, and I think Bruce, did you second? Okay. Any other questions on that? Thanks, Don. Hearing none, I'll look for council action. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Number 6, first reading of ordinance number 1605, amending the zoning district boundaries by zoning property west of 5th Street Southeast C3 Highway Commercial District. This is a first reading, but I think, Shane, maybe you can put that up on the screen and kind of show them what's going on out there and what we're looking at.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. The area in question is being referred to as Southside Second Edition. It's along, our map calls it 5th Street Southeast, otherwise known as Highway 81. To the south, the cement plant is the property to the north, and the John Deere dealership is to the south. The area being rezoned, it currently was zoned an I-1, which doesn't fit the intended use for a movie theater development opportunity. So we proposed to rezone it to C3.
Perfect. This will give you a bit of a heads up. Now, that road that will be vacated on there, is it a road or is it not?
It is a dedicated right-of-way that will be vacated through another parallel process.
Okay, and that's where the movie theater is looking at building.
Correct.
Okay, and is there floodway issues or floodplain issues out there?
There is floodplain in the lower portion towards the river, but the building can be raised up above that without any issues.
Then my understanding is that there will be additional entries to get in there, so we aren't using just the one entryway.
Correct.
You're working on that.
We're working on those issues, yep.
And you're working with the DOT on that.
Correct.
Perfect. Any questions you guys have for Shane? Hearing none, we'll move on. Number 7, consideration or request for the Mighty Thomas Carnival to use the city lot at the corner of Kemp Avenue and 3rd Street from May the 25th through May 30th of 2016. I'll look for a motion and a second for any discussion on this. Motion by John, second by Beth. Any questions that you have for the carnival coming to town? Hearing none, I'll look for council action. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Number 8, consideration of contribution to the Watertown Area Transit for capital equipment. If you want to come on up here, Terry, that would be great. You can give us a little explanation of what's going on before we'll even get a motion then, and then we can go that route.
Okay, Terry Hoffman, Director of Watertown Transit. I'm here tonight to ask for the City Council to help us with purchasing 2 new vehicles. We are looking for up to $10,000. I know last year we went through the same process. We had asked for the amount
Can
of...
you guys, you got to stay with us here and put that up on the screen, somebody, so we can see what's going on.
We had asked last year for up to $12,000 for the purchase of a bus, and in the end, I believe we used $6,700 roughly. I can't remember exactly what it was. We're hoping to do the same thing. We need to purchase a 10-passenger bus with 2 wheelchair seats in it, and then also a handicap accessible minivan. Those are the 2 things that we are asking for. We are getting some dollars from other sources as well, plus we have some money set aside.
Okay, so at this time, what I'll do is I'll look for a motion and a second for further discussion. And in the motion, if I may ask, tell us where you want the money to come from if we do this. The money last year came out of our contingency fund.
Show me how much money we have.
In contingency, $300,000 for the year.
And we're still there.
Yes.
Okay, so if you want to use your motion to include dollars coming out of the contingency fund, and then we'll have a second, and then we can discuss it.
Right. I make a motion that we provide the money requested and that it come out of the contingency fund.
So I have a motion by Beth,
I'll second that.
and I have a second by Glenn. Is there any questions on this?
I guess I've got a question or a comment. I'm not opposed to it, and I think I've got a lot of regard for the Watertown Area Transit, but we're providing, was it, Shelley, a little over 40,000 of direct support? No, I mean, what we budgeted for 2016 as far as direct support. So this would be over and above that. I guess I take a little bit of exception to the process. I mean, I would like to have seen this considered as part of our budgeting process last summer and not ask for contingency funds now for this.
Glenn, that's kind of the question I was going to ask is because this is the second year, I think, Terry, that we've done this. Explain why something like this doesn't go through the normal budgeting process. Because
The reason it doesn't is we never know when these vehicles are going to become available to the state. I mean, I understand your guys' position, and it's hard for us, too, to come back and ask for funds, but we don't know when the opportunities are coming. Now, 2 years in a row, we've had an opportunity here, and if it's there, we have to take it. We may not get another opportunity for a year, 2, 3 years down the line. We don't know that. We may have another opportunity here. We just don't know.
I think
So
what I would suggest in our budgeting purpose, excuse me, is that maybe we build that in there, that there is that opportunity if you have, something like this that's going to come up every year, that it's there and we can build it into the budget so that we don't take it out of contingency in the future. I think we could do that. Could we, Shelley?
Yeah, I think if we did that, then
It-
too,
if-
if it didn't get used, it could be rolled over to another year or something. And
Exactly.
Right. It could still be sitting right in that external organization contribution, so it can be tracked. It's just if there isn't a need for it, it wouldn't be
Right.
used, and it would be separate from your regular operating support that we give to them. So if
Exactly. I think that's kind of the direction
Yeah.
we want to go next year, Terry, is to build that in. Now, you're also approaching county, I think, on this and others.
Yeah, we're approaching several different entities, plus we are, like I say, we have some money set aside too from our fundraising that,
Right.
you know,
And
we're
then-
exploring all angles, trying to get it together, so.
Right, and then, as you said, you know, you're looking at the $10,000 max, but you're actually expecting it to be, as you have on the board there, less than $5,000.
Yes.
Terry, do you have on your equipment, you have a pretty good idea about how long your vans are gonna last in regards to miles or years or?
Yes, we do.
I wonder if you couldn't just go with a schedule on that, and whatever your schedule dictates, work with, you know, the mayor and Shelley from a finance standpoint, plan it like they're recommending, we can budget for it, and if it doesn't work out, we don't get it. And I think as long as you know you got a fairly good idea on what the turnover is, it would seem like it would be a good way to do that.
Yeah, since we took over last March, one of the things we have done is put together a 5-year plan and, you know, pick out everything that we are going to need in that span and beyond. Even we've started going beyond there too. Absolutely, we can provide that.
Yeah, and your budget comes to us, I mean, the need, the letter from the council comes to us much earlier than any other department does.
Yes, it does.
So it's just,
Are
Yeah.
these additional buses? In addition?
Yes, they would be, because right now, we have 10 vehicles right now, and they are,
Busy all the time.
well, most of them are on the road all at once, at some point during the day, and we are supposed to have at least 2 in reserve, and right now, we don't have that. We don't have that luxury.
maybe give us a little heads up on the hospitals. How do I say this, right? The hospital actually has you delivering people, bringing them up there, they're paying for their costs, and what's that done for your traffic, for a number
That-
of passengers?
If anybody listened to the radio, to the news on, I believe, KXLG today, Jill Fuller, the CEO of Prairie Lakes, and I were on the air today, and we announced that they have agreed to extend that agreement with us for another year. Since we signed that agreement with them last April, began on April 1st, we have seen about a 67% increase in medical trips in the city. And it's phenomenal.
I personally have to say that I use the bus 4 times a week to go to the hospital. So, I mean, between therapy and doctors, and they're amazing. I mean, they're there when I need them there. All your drivers are super, super nice, and I never feel uncomfortable on the bus. So, I have a lot of praise for what you're doing. So I just wanted to throw that in there. If we couldn't afford it, I wouldn't give you the money, but I just wanted to throw that in there, that you guys are doing an awesome job. And I know they're busy too, because I can hear it on the dispatch that you guys are flying all over the place. So you do a good job.
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to recuse myself from this vote. Am I out of line to comment on it, or? I am their board director, so.
Well, I think as a board member, you can say something.
The one thing nice about the contract with Prairie Lakes, it's not just patients to Prairie Lakes. Prairie Lakes pays for any medical transportation any place in Watertown, whether they're going to the Brown Clinic or the chiropractor across town or any place. It's any medical transportation, so it's not just Prairie Lakes patients. So that's been a great asset for the city of Watertown, the residents of Watertown, and Watertown Area Transit.
Are there any other questions for Terry?
Just want to clear, the motion, Beth, is to, based on what he said, to be up to the $10,000 then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Not to exceed the $10,000.
Just a question, is the hospital throwing something in on this too, or where do they stand?
Don't know yet. They have been approached, yes.
Any other questions? Hearing none, I will look for council action. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Terry.
Thank you.
Good luck bringing in around 3 or so, okay? I don't think you heard me. Terry, did you hear me? I said bring it in around 3 or so if you can. Good deal. Okay, number 9, moving on. Authorization for the fire department to accept Homeland Security grant funds in the amount of $10,000 for a rope rescue class. Don, fill us in.
Thank you, Mayor. I am here tonight to ask for your approval to accept a Homeland Security grant of $10,000. It's for a rope rescue class. It's an advanced rescue class that's actually in California. It's involving our 4 all hazards teams, 2 from Watertown, 2 from Sioux Falls, 2 from Rapid City, and 2 from Aberdeen, respectively. And these individuals, when they go down there to do this rope rescue class, they'll be instructor capability, and they'll be able to come back to provide that expertise and knowledge to our staff. So I ask that you approve this.
Okay, so at this time, I'll look for a motion and a second for discussion.
So moved.
Motion by Randy, second by Brad. Any questions that you have for Don?
Tell us what that is. Can you tell us what that is?
Yeah, absolutely, Bruce. It's basically an advanced class for our structural collapse, our trench rescue, high-angle rescue type emergencies. Somebody in a, say, for example, GLE, if they would call us, and they have somebody trapped up in a silo or a tower, water tower, basically. Anything like that is kind of the process behind this, yes.
Rain ban or anything like that?
What's that,
Rain
Randy?
ban or anything like that?
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
So does this grant then pay the expenses to go there? Is that the
This will
purpose of
pay,
it?
Bill, this will pay for the transportation, the lodging, the airfare to go down there and back, yes, 100%.
I think the council president kind of wanted to go and learn how to rappel down on those things. Is there any chance?
Sometime we could probably let that happen, maybe.
I
We'll
think
see.
they need the training, because I went to that 101 class one time, and they rappelled me down and tried to scare me, and I think some classes would be good.
I think we'll welcome you back, Mike. How's that? I know.
Okay, any other questions on that? Hearing none, I will look for council action. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Number 10, authorization for the fire department to accept HMEP grant funds for the ARFF certification live burn training in the amount of $8,000. And if you'll also take care of that for us.
Sure. The
Thanks, Don.
HMEP is Hazardous Material Emergency Planning Grant. This is monies that come to the state of South Dakota every year for basically the 4 teams again as well. We receive some of those funds to go to different courses and have them come to our facilities. This particular class is a live burn certification that the aircraft rescue firefighting folks have to take every year. That's a live burn. We usually paid for it ourselves, but we've been able to apply for this grant to help pay for these funds, or this course itself. And we'll be doing this May 3rd, 4th, and 5th, I believe, this year. So I ask for your approval for the $8,000.
Okay, so at this time, what I'll do is I'll look for a motion and a second for discussion. Motion by Mike, second by Don. Any questions for Don? Hearing none, I will look for council action. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thanks, Don.
Thank you, guys.
Number 11, authorization for the mayor to sign an addendum to the fixed-based operator operating lease between the City of Watertown and Airco Incorporated. Todd, fill us in on this one a little bit.
This is the addendum for Scott Thompson owns Airco Aviation. So this is the addendum that takes off the Site B, the Airco 2 building and the ramp space and the parking lot that we are with the last, what was it, number 5? Excuse me. This is taking it off of his lease and addending his lease to a new price.
Perfect. So what I'll do is I'll look for council motion and a second from you for discussion. Motion by Beth, second by Mike. Any questions for Todd on this? Hearing none, I'll look for council action. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Todd, you want to just give us, well, we got a couple of minutes here. Just give us a quick rundown on what's happening with the airport board and our airlines.
Sure. We got 4 bids from Great Lakes Aviation was the first one. Boutique Air was the second one. And ADI and Key Lime Air was our 4th bid. All of them came in fairly close for numbers-wise. We have been in contact with Pier. I have been in contact with Pier, I should say, with the airport manager out there. And we are setting up a little discussion with Pier and Watertown to discuss airline options for both of our cities. We feel that that's a very good idea since we aligned ourselves with Pier's bidding process and Watertown's bidding process. So I think it makes sense for both of us to sit down as cities and discuss the best options for both cities.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Todd.
you.
Appreciate it. Okay, let's move on to number 12. Consideration of bids received for the Foundation Field Baseball Lighting Project. The bid tab was presented to all of you prior to the meeting, and it's right in front of you. We'll have Jay come up and kind of give us a little explanation of what's going on.
Thank you. Yes, the bids were open today. We received two bids, the low bid being the $161,262 from Ingolstadt Electric. Now, there is $160,000 that are budgeted in the 212 account for this project. But prior to this, with engineering services and soil boring testing, we've already spent $15,375. I wanted to make the council aware of this. So adding everything together, the total cost would be $176,637 with the $160,000 budgeted project. What I would hope to do is that a few meetings ago, the council approved the purchase of an additional bucket truck for the forestry department that gives us a little better reach to get some of the cottonwood trees that we intend to remove. In the 2016-212 budget, there was money budgeted for professional removal of some of those trees. So I think it will be possible to use some of those funds to account for the over budget that we have with the Foundation Field baseball lighting project.
Okay, Jay, what I'll do at this time, I will look for a motion and a second for discussion purposes.
Second.
Motion by Bruce, second by Randy. Any questions that you have for Jay?
Jay, who put the estimate together? Originally, the $160,000.
I actually did that, and that was based on a quote from Ingolstadt Electric.
Okay, but that did not include the other service, the engineering services that for
The quote was between $156,000 and $160,000, and I put in $160 for the request.
Okay, so it was
So
just
it's pretty close, actually.
The actual lighting
Yeah.
estimate is what we're seeing.
Yes.
It's these other needs that were determined that we had to have out there. I believe it was soil testing, is that what you said?
Right, soil testing and engineering costs.
And engineering, and that's what they, okay.
Did this come with recommendation by your board?
Yes, we had a special park board meeting at 5 p.m. this evening, and the park board did motion to recommend accepting the bid from Ingolstadt Electric.
Shelley, are you okay with what Jay's proposing or what we're proposing?
Yeah, as long as they can see that savings from that, and you guys are okay with that, then we can just move that budget later on in the year.
What is the amount of the savings, Jay, for the tree trim?
Well, I would say it would be, we had $24,000 budgeted for 3rd Street Southwest. There's some large cottonwood trees in the boulevard in the neighborhoods there that we wanted to remove. And, roughly we were figuring professional removal at about $1,500 a tree. Now, if we're doing that ourselves, I'm sure we can cut that, it takes time and manpower, but I'm sure we can cut that in half. So, that's where we would realize the saving, that we wouldn't use that money for professional services.
Jay, one question I got, the lighting of the foundation field that's being done in stages, correct me if I'm wrong?
Correct.
Okay, so is this engineering and everything, is that done for the whole complex then? Or
No.
will we have engineering cost every year? Okay.
Just the one, yeah. And one thing too about Foundation Field, I've been a neighbor to Foundation Field for many, many years and been on the junior teener baseball board over the years, and this has been a dream of the baseball community for decades. And now with some changes in regulations with the Federal Aviation Administration, the possibility, the door is open, so to speak.
When the field that we're lighting, which would be the northwest field, is the one that's the most demanding from the FAA standpoint, is that correct?
That would be correct.
Right, so if we were to wait, those regulations or approval could change.
That's very possible.
So you're saying get it while we don't have an airline? Get her that. You know, another quick thing, I just want to let you know, we had a department head meeting and Roger Foote said he's looking for those trees that you're going to be taking down, those old cottonwoods, because they have some kind of an agreement with their club for kayaks. They want to take 20-foot lengths of those trees and they'll cut kayaks out, and it's kind of a neat little thing. So are you charging like what, a couple $1,000 a tree?
We'll have to discuss
For
that.
kayak? Okay, that'll help. Any other questions that you have for Jay? Yeah. Hearing none, I'll look for council action. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Jay. Okay, number 13, consideration of bids received for the landfill cell number 6 construction project. And Shane, I guess Mike ditched you because he went fishing. You're up.
He owes me a couple walleye
I think
fillets.
so.
Yeah. Yeah, we got good bids. We had Houston Engineering do design work on cell 6, which was already in the works when they did cell 5 a few years ago. So this is phase 2 of the project, so to speak. Cell 6 is located in the northeastern corner of the landfill facility. When they were constructing cell 5, they identified a few sand lenses, so to speak, that were had water flowing through them. So with part of the design for cell 6, they identified that potential need for some additional drainage features, and those items were incorporated into an alternate number 1 for this project. So we took bids accordingly. The city received 10 bids on the project on March 23rd. The engineer's estimate was $1,028,000 roughly, and the low bid was in the amount of $1,142,457.83. This is approximately 11% over the estimated cost, but within reason on a project of this size. The low bid was submitted by Bates Construction of Twin Brook, South Dakota. Just to give you an idea, the other bids ranged from $1,177,000 to $1,828,000. So the low bid is considerably lower than the remainder of the bids that were collected. The wastewater department, or solid waste enterprise fund, has indicated that they have more than adequate funds to accommodate the small overrun in the budget for this project. And both the engineer, HEI, and the city staff is recommending award of this bid to Bates Construction.
Okay, so at this time, I'll look for a motion and a second for discussion. Motion by Bill, second by Bruce. Any questions you have for Shane on this?
That total then includes that alternate then?
It does, and just for clarification, if during the investigative research that the engineering firms will be doing during construction, if they find out that they don't need to do alternative number 1, then we won't spend the $150,000 for, or only maybe a portion of alternate number 1 or something like that. But ultimately, we could be under budget if that work is not required to the fullest extent that we have it designed for. So there is some potential savings to get us back under budget.
Any other questions? Hearing none, I'll look for council action. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thanks, Shane. Number 14, consideration of bids received for the asphalt concrete maintenance work project.
All right, thank you. On March 24th, city staff took 6 bids were open for various portions of the asphalt concrete maintenance and overlay work. The bid tab was attached in your packet. There was 4 schedules that we took bids on, so I'll just go through each schedule on its own. Schedule A was for our traditional seal coat project. 3 bids were received for the seal coat work. Road Guy Construction Company out of Yankton was low bid with an amount of $259,880. That was below 4% below the engineer's estimate of $270,400. The other two bids were a little bit higher, but in the ballpark. One was $276,990, and the other one was considerably higher at $364,530. I'll summarize our recommendations at the end. Schedule B, milling and asphalt concrete overlay. We only received one bid from McLaughlin and Schultz in the amount of $648,530. This, again, is 8% below the estimate of $705,000. Schedule C, crack sealing. 3 bids were received for this portion of the project. Aztec Corp. of St. Cloud, Minnesota was the low bidder with a bid of $47,260, which is approximately 7% below the $51,000 estimate. The other 2 bids were $51,000 and $60,520 respectively. Schedule D was for microsurfacing, which we had a work session discussion on last council meeting. Unfortunately, we received only one bid, and it was roughly double of what our estimated cost was. That bid was in the amount of $99,379. We had an estimated budget of $50,000 for that work. So, to summarize, what we're asking the council to consider is, number 1, a motion to award a contract for Schedule A for seal coating to Road Guy Construction Company of Yankton in the amount of $259,880. Schedule 2, motion to award a contract for Schedule B milling and asphalt concrete construction to McLaughlin and Schultz in the amount of $648,530. A motion to award contract for Schedule C crack sealing to Aztec Corp. In the amount of $47,260. And request number 4 is a motion to reject the only bid for microsurfacing.
Okay, thanks, Shane. So at this time, what I'll do is I will look for a motion and a second for discussion on number 1, motion to award a contract for project 1614 Schedule A seal coat to the Road Guy Construction Company Incorporated in the amount of $259,880.
So moved.
Motion by Beth, second by Bill. Any questions on this one?
I'm going to ask just a general question on all of them, but how are these prices compared to last year? What are we seeing?
All of our estimates that were stated within this memo are based on our historic trends for prices. So if they're indicated that they're percents lower than our estimate, then they're good prices.
Any other questions on this particular one? Hearing none, I'll look for council action. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Number 2, motion to award a contract for project 1614 Schedule B, milling and asphalt concrete mat construction to McLaughlin and Schultz in the amount of $648,530. And I'll look for a motion and a second for discussion. Motion by John, second by Bruce. Any questions on this? Hearing none, I'll look for council action. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Number 3, motion to, I will look for a motion and a second for award a contract for project 1614 Schedule C, crack seal to Aztec Corp. In the amount of $47,260. I am wondering, Shane, if you want in that motion something that reflects what you said about that the references will be checked.
Oh. I apologize. We did check references. Aztec Corporation is a viable contractor, and we would look forward to working with them.
Okay, so I'll just look for a motion to award this contract. Motion by Don, second by Glenn. Any questions on that? Hearing none, I'll look for council action. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Number 4, a motion to reject the only bid for microsurfacing. I'll look for a motion and a second on this. Motion by Mike, second by Brad. Any questions on this rejection?
What's Plan B?
Plan B is we'll continue to look at this as a viable alternative. We may have to build our project sizes a little bit through our budgeting to come up with a larger project to basically bring down our per square yard costs. So we're not abandoning the idea of this technology. We'll just have to refocus how we approach it. And one other thing that we may do is reach out to some of our neighboring cities and see if they also are interested in it, so that we get somebody that wants to come in and do the work throughout a regional area rather than a single city. So
Shane, you don't look for anybody to, I mean, there's such a limited amount of contractors that do this. You don't look for that to build any, or?
Well, I would anticipate as the volume of cities that are interested in the technology grows, that'll spawn more contractors. I'll give you a for instance, the contractor that you awarded the seal coat to tonight, you know, a mere 10, 15 years ago was a upstart company from Yankton, and they immediately started competing with their bigger competitors and have since, in that period of time, remained a very competitive and good company to work with. So we anticipate that will happen here eventually. It just, not enough cities and projects are in the area to make it.
Best bet is just to piggyback on somebody else.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're going to continue to try to coordinate our work with this work that's in the Sioux Falls area, and maybe try to find a way to help them help us too. So
Can you remind me what exactly, are they proposing to do different, this type of?
it's a kind of a hybrid chip seal product that, you know.
You have to excuse Bill, he was basking in Mexico, I think.
But,
or someplace.
I'm thinking, okay, it's over my head, I didn't hear about this somewhere.
Yeah,
so-
it's a version of it's a high-grade chip seal that makes the street last longer than a traditional seal coat, so.
My question is, on First Avenue, where we're gonna do it, are we going to then do a seal coat on that? Or are you going to eliminate it?
Actually, we're gonna consider, what we're gonna use that, you know, we have $50,000 in a budget now that's
Right.
unused. We will identify the best use within this program for that money. I do have one other bid that's kinda coming in yet, well, two actually, the Cook Complex and the Downtown Alley project has 4 different components of parking lot improvements. So if I don't need the budgeting there, we'll look at either seal coat or crack sealing or something will enhance to
Yeah, 'cause
use up that fund.
That's extremely important for Watertown,
Oh,
to
yeah.
get these roads going like you do. And-
No doubt, so.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second on the floor. No further questions. I'll look for council action. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Is there any old business we need to talk about?
You know, while we're talking about roads, Shane, just out of curiosity, where are we, if we're anywhere at this point, with the 12th Street, that 1 block or 1.5 block segment south of LATI? What is the intention for that? What's the plan? I've had some folks ask me about that. Do you know where I'm talking about?
Yeah, we'll drive into it. Are we talking about the assessment project that we kind of brought forward previously in the year?
We did a seal, or we did put some material down, we didn't seal it. Yeah, we put milling down, and it's in pretty rough shape again.
The milling actually made the road worse, and I know Rob's guys were down there not too long ago and tried to do some grading on it, which helped, but it still wasn't a solution to it, so.
Well, we brought forward an assessment project earlier this year and received some opposition from the petitioner even when he realized what the costs were to them. And so that project died at that point as far as our internal processes go. I don't know that would get resurrected without some participation from the city or a reconciling with those 4 property owners to cover a cost that would be assessed to those property owners. As far as the ongoing maintenance to 12th Street Northeast, I'd have to refer to Rob to see what his plans are to help preserve and maintain what's there.
At this time, we don't have any plans above and beyond what's there. I mean, like Shane was saying, you know, the owner that brought that forward, or the adjacent landowner, you know, without city participation, I don't think that anything will happen there. But at this time, we would just plan on doing what we've been doing, and that's, you know, with the millings and maintain that, so.
Okay. Kind of where we're at right now, Bruce. I don't know if you guys want to
Rob, do you think
bring this back.
Rob, do you think doing any more overlay with millings and then seal coating it would?
You know, we could do something like that too, where we could try, you know, shaping it up and maybe seal it with oil and, you know, do a blotter top, basically.
When are the adjacent roads scheduled for resurfacing?
At this time, I'd have to look at our information. I think with our pavement management program, that's gonna tell us a lot after that's complete.
We do have design in-house waiting for scheduling and funding for 11th Street Northeast. That project, if it was done in its entirety as per our set of plans, would improve that from First Avenue Northeast all the way down to Highway 212. That was formerly part of our STP state funding process. We've now opted to not continue to stay in their 5-year plans, so we will annually receive the STP funding from the state, and it's up to our discretion what road we use that on. I would anticipate that we'll use those funds to build up enough funding for the 11th Street project, for instance. So that project, I think, would be coming forward. And then there's some other high priority projects that, you know, for instance, one thing that's huge on my radar is 29th Street out from 212 to the south edge of Walmart is in dire need of some attention. And I plan on coming to the council with a budget request, you know, later this summer to address that problem in our 2017 program.
You know, I
So-
look at 11th Street and I drive it every day, and there's a whole lot of roads worse than that one. So I would think that we would take, and I understand those funds were originally
Right.
directed towards arterial roads, where now we have the option to use them other places. And I would say that there's a lot more roads in dire need than 11th Street.
And that very may well be, and I think what we need to recognize is we've got this pavement management study that's coming in the works, should be completed hopefully by budget time this summer. And I plan on really looking at that closely, because that's supposed to provide us a 5-year plan of what we should be investing in our street system in 5 years and how far that takes us. And I think that's a key component to continuing this discussion.
The concern I have, I've been on the council 5 years, and we've had this same discussion for 5 years. And that is, you've got this road, but we have a lot of, as the mayor referenced, we have a lot of different roads. Not that the roads are paved and in bad shape. We're talking about roads that somewhere along the line never got paved. Right? And for sins that we had from years and years and years ago. Well, there's a lot of them. So prioritizing them and the manner in which we're going to pay for them. But for us to go, and I'm going to use this as an example, if we were to go in here and say, well, the only way we're going to get this done is the city's going to pay for it, then I promise you the city will pay for every one of those other roads with the precedent that's set. Because isn't everybody else going to say they can't afford it? So it's a much bigger issue than one road. And there's a solution, and I don't know what the solution is, but
I think a lot of the solution is exactly what you did on 12th Street Southeast.
Yep, we're taking care of a block and a half
yeah.
of those issues this summer.
You know, I really think so, but that's gonna be the same argument. If we bring up 12th Street or Mayfair, we're gonna just sit here and argue and say, well, I don't wanna pay all of it, you pay half of it for me, or you guys put in the dough. So we need to come up as a group and say, you know, who's gonna do this, and are we gonna kick in, or is it just gonna be an assessment?
I would agree with that, and I would add that I think the time to do these is when we're doing the adjacent roads. We figure out the strategy, then if we're doing a street right next to it for 10 blocks, well, that extra block and a half added on to that project as either a part of the project or an addendum to the project. You know, take advantage of the mobilization that's taken place, costs should come down. You'll have to decide that first, but that's when I would schedule them.
One thing about that though, Don, if you were to decide you were gonna do 11th, you would have to fix 12th a year before you did 11th, because that's where all the traffic's gonna go.
Okay, any other old business?
Do you think we can get some of us together in a committee and start putting some ideas together on how we might approach this? Because like,
You know, I think it's a project that I think, Shane, you could put together, and you could get a group of these guys. We got to come to some kind of a conclusion, and we have to all come to an agreement. And it's been a struggle for the last 7 years that I've been involved. We've wanted to do 12th Street. So, and it just never has moved along.
Yeah, well, and I'll just refresh some memories. This north lot up here and this corner lot here, and I'm not sure if this next one over has it or not, but when these two were improved, we collected a waiver of right to protest. And that's how the city staff, in the meantime, is trying to ramp up these projects so that when something is developed along a unpaved street, that we're having them sign a document that says, when we build the road, you're not going to protest the assessment. And hopefully we can get enough of that in certain areas that, like 12th Avenue Southeast, we tripped over the 51 or 55% threshold, so that made it easy for us to propose that as an assessment project. So we do have a mechanism that we're trying to incorporate other ideas into this, but it still takes commitment from the council for us to enforce those waiver of right to protest so that we can build a roadway. In this case, we have just under 50% to get it done, but I would embrace that discussion with open arms, so.
Okay, so we're going to move off from old business. Is there any new business that needs to be discussed?
I've got one comment. The golf course is up and running out there. I live a couple blocks from the golf course, an awful lot of golf carts out there. And I shudder to think how many times I've had to swerve or stop or slow down for these golf carts, primarily with little kids driving them. Those are not toys out there. And I'm just always concerned about the safety aspect of those golf carts. I really, implore parents to be careful when they send their kids out in these golf carts.
I would agree with that, Glenn, and I know that that's one of the reasons why the golf course, that's quite a whistle out of that one, wasn't it? So anyhow, there's a group that we put together that can take a look at this and discuss the road that goes through that, if it's a road that really should still be there, or in the future to get rid of that road and run it back on South Lake Drive. I think it really should be that way because it is not safe.
You done, Glenn? Mayor, I think we just need to put a reminder out to the public right now that the ordinance that was changed and put in place last year for the storage of campers and boats and such, I'm already seeing a lot of that coming out, and there's a lot of problems all over. So we just need to make sure that the people are reminded that, our grace period was kind of last year, and we said we're going to be enforcing it this year. So, maybe we can get that on the radio or in the paper or something that just as a reminder that we need to get people to understand what the ordinance requirements are and to abide by them, because we will be enforcing it.
Right, and not only is Jim working on that, but we need to get back together and start taking a look at the lake, because we told people we were going to address that, so we need to do that. Any other new business? Any liaison reports?
Yeah, I have one. The infamous and long-awaited charrette report is done. The mayor has the premier and only copy of it. So it looks really good. It turned out beyond our expectations. And next thing we need to do is get the architects up here to give us a presentation. They're really excited to do that. So if we can find a working session that they can do that. And at that time, following the urban renewal meeting, when we accept the final report, then everybody else can get their cool copies of the report. So it's very well done. Did you get a chance to look at it at all?
I did.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Very nice. Okay, any other reports?
Actually, I've got one comment. I think we should recognize Ty Miller, USD Coyotes, national WNIT champions. So pretty proud of that.
Perfect. Any need to go into executive session? Hearing none, I'll look for a motion to adjourn. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? It was Randy and Beth. Didn't you catch that?